2024 year, just have a pretty good year. Uh, Ultimately ended up starting against South Carolina, and then that's when I got Tommy. The original plan was to kind of like go in, got the MRI. They saw it was a tear at the top of the UCL, so there's a chance that it could kind of heal itself or whatnot. But got a PRP shot, and then tried to rehab it that whole summer. Got back, started throwing again, nothing got better, and then ultimately got full reconstruction with the hybrid. Um, so they ended up taking my tendon from my hamstring, the gracilis, in my right leg, and they threw it up in my elbow. So yeah, it was a crazy process. I think right now I'm on month 14 of recovery. Um, Been getting off the mound. Um, just started throwing live ABs again. Starting to feel like a baseball player again.
Is your arm feeling better than ever now, though? Because on the other side of this operation, guys can feel totally renewed.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel a lot better than I was feeling before. But still going through little pains here and there. I got this little bone thing that like all the sutures and whatnot are anchored into. It kind of flares up every once in a while, but every guy that I've talked to, they got the surgery, say like, it's just something you kind of just got to throw through. You get through it, and it's just gonna go away, and then you're gonna be your best self again. So I'm super excited for that. But the other thing I kind of was worried about was when I was talking to all these guys about who got the surgeries and whatnot. They always said the first thing that they lost was like their field, like for their pinches and like accuracy and stuff like that. And that was pretty nerve wracking for me because that's pretty much like my MO. Like I'm not a power arm guy, I'm crafty, I'm gonna throw strikes, I'm gonna make you get soft contact. So that they kind of shook me up a little bit, but throughout the entire process, my trainers has been super good to me. I've been blessed to have him. Been communicating a lot with the coaching staff, and we've just been hammering down. I'm really just trying to keep my feel there, um, with all my pitches. And so far I've thrown in two live babies. I've First one was 2 innings, the next one was 3 innings, and obviously it wasn't my best showing, but I mean, I was competing and make some really good pitches, so I'm really excited to kind of just keep going along with the process and seeing what I can really do.
When you were out though, 'cause you had a lot of time. Anytime I talk to an athlete who's been injured for an extended period of time, you get a lot of time to watch the game, in a way that you didn't when you were playing. What elements when you were sitting on the sideline were you watching and really said to yourself, "I want to add this to my arsenal"?
Coach Jackson, after I got my surgery, he kind of sat me down. I was like, hey, like, obviously you're not gonna be able to make an impact on the field, and I understood that. And as an older guy now, also as one of the captains and leaders on the team, like I really took the time to kind of take a step back and kind of work on being the best teammate I could be. Just trying to be that older guy, that older presence that the younger guys and underclassmen kind of go to, be like, hey, like, how'd you do this? How'd you get through this? And walk me through this. That's been super beneficial for me, not only as like a baseball player, but as a man. Just kind of being able to be that rock that that I needed when I was younger too. But on the flip side, things like that, um, I definitely was able to see the game from a different point of view and a lot more on like a wider spectrum. So I got to take a lot of things in, and I see a lot of things now that I pick up on that a lot of other guys don't see in the game, just because I was in the dugout every single day just watching and seeing it from that perspective. But yeah, it was super beneficial. Um, and I definitely think my baseball IQ's got a lot higher because of it.
Exciting new players in the game right now. The guy you watched this year that you kinda said, like, "Man, I wanna add a little elements to what they're doing," or maybe multiple guys, like, as you were observing, you really wanted to add some elements what they were doing into your game?
Yeah, right off the top of my head, it's always been Brian Wu. That man is doing some pretty cool things, and I love his repertoire. His mechanics are probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. But he just has it pretty much. You know, when people say like, "Oh, he just got it," like kids, dude's just got it. But yeah, kind of just trying to be like Brian Wu, man. Like, if you go on my phone right now, you're gonna see tons and tons of videos of just like slow motion, like going through his mechanics or like pitch sequencing and stuff like that. Yeah, everything he does is pretty good. I've definitely been trying to do that. One thing I kind of took for him was he has a two fastball approach. So like he's got the sinker and he's got the four seam. That's something I kind of stole from him because watching his success, especially in MLB, like okay, I can kind of see how in a tunnel or in a vacuum, like that plays off both. So that's something I've taken into my rehab process of when we were starting with the throwing and whatnot. Kind of went up to my trainer, I was like, hey, like I know I already got the sinker and whatnot, but like I want to try and get a four seam. So like every day when we're playing catch, I'm throwing sinkers and four seams every single day. Uh, did a lot of Sharpie ball training where we kind of just like colored in some sides of the Sharpie ball just so we could see the spin and the axis and whatnot. And that's been super beneficial for me too. And been throwing it into live ABs and it's been pretty money. So I'm super excited.
That's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I have to imagine the four-seamer jumping that into your arsenal too is gonna add some velocity. So, one of the nice things I'm sure as you're building your scouting report too is they're now gonna be able to show you as reaching a higher, miles per hour because the four-seam generally throws faster than a sinker.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I guess what's kind of funny is like the way I kind of talk about with my pitching coach is like, you know, I've always been the guy that, you know, sinker, slider, changeup, kick, soft contact, whatever. We call it being boring. You're not getting strikeouts run out. So I was always like termed as the boring pitcher. Um, but now, you know, I'm in there like, hey, I gotta force you now, man. Like now I can go get that punchy if I want it. So like now I get to be a cool kid, you know. So I'm excited about that.
What was your path to Como, to get out to Missouri? How'd you wind up finding yourself out in the middle of the country?
Yeah, so obviously local boy through and through, born and raised in Hawaii. Um my sophomore year of high school, I was originally committed to Kansas State.
So you're already ready to go to the
I was already on my way to the Midwest, I guess. But ended up going to the that wood bat tournament in Jupiter with a perfect game. Pitched pretty well there. And then ultimately ended up decommitting from Kansas State and then recommitting to University of Arizona. I was there for 2 years. Um, first year was under Jay Johnson, who's at LSU now, and he that was the year we went to Omaha. And then next year was under Chip Hale. Had a pretty good year, went to a regional, and then ultimately side transfer. Um, and found myself in Como, man. I mean, yeah, crazy trip. Never really thought I'd be up in the middle of the Midwest, but I mean, here I am. I mean, what I usually always tell my boys or like my family at home is like, you know, you go to some crazy extents to go chase a dream. So this is me chasing a dream.
You're killing it. What's funny though is I feel like I'm not sure what like what your relationship with a higher power is, but man, you were gonna go to the Heartland region and then you resisted it for a second. And you're like, I'm gonna stick with the warm weather in Arizona,
Yeah.
and then did that for 2 years and somehow get brought back. So
I mean, it's
goodness,
nothing. I'm a faithful man too, and I thank God. You know, it was definitely something that needed to happen in my life, regardless of how I got here. And no, ultimately, what's funny is I tell a lot of people, you know, growing up, I would always pray and be like, God, you know, let me play baseball for a really long time. You know, like I love this game. I want to do this for as long as I can. Um, should have been a little more specific. Because now I am, you know, obviously been playing baseball for a while, but I'm a 6th year in college. Um, Should have been a little bit more specific when I was praying growing up, maybe like get drafted or whatever my senior year or whatnot, get the ball rolling a little bit. But I know God's got me, and it's been a crazy ride so far, and I'm just excited to see what He has in store for me later on.
What do you think the hardest moment of the college sports journey for you has been so far in the 6 years?
I think definitely last year for me. I mean, obviously along with being injured and whatnot, we went 3-27. Uh, I don't think anybody in their right mind is going to tell you that's a good year. But I think especially for me as an older guy who's been in the program for a while, and what what I had the biggest problem I had, not it's not problem, but it was simply the fact that I've always been a guy that loves to compete, loves to go balls to the wall and just try and win. And the hardest thing for me was not being able to make that impact on the field, and seeing my teammates struggle, and not win games, and seeing how that affects them mentally, away from the field. And it was just really hard for me to kind of just be there and just watch us lose. Um, so that's been something I've definitely harped on a lot this year with, especially the new guys coming in. It's like what we do this year has no correlation to what happened last year. And we've had talks and whatnot about, some expectations for the year and whatnot. We put Omaha up there. We put SEC champs. KJ kind of talked to us. I was like, hey, so I know I've seen a lot of you guys were kind of hesitant about talking about SEC champs in Omaha. Like, why is that? And one of the guys were like, we went 3-27 last year. And he's like, I respect that, but how does that last year have any effect on what we do this year? When he said that, a lot of guys we were like, the light bulb kind of went on, and we're like, oh, like he's right. And then I don't know, I feel like kind of ever since that moment, there's been a little bit more fire under our butts for sure. We've been moving pretty methodically, and we got a common goal, and we really want to win this year, and we really want to shock the nation. I think we will. I mean, I'm really excited. We got a really good team, man.
If you win an SEC championship this year, that would be one of the craziest stories in the college baseball in recent memory.
Yeah. I think on the pitcher side, and also on the position player side, I think we've definitely just raised the floor. Um, I think from a talent point, we were pretty bottom of the barrel last year, but now we brought in some really good arms, some really really good position players, and we raised the floor. We're we're gonna be one of the teams that you definitely got to plan for now. I feel like it's not gonna just be a walk in the park anymore, or what it's been in recent years, I guess. But definitely raised the floor. The other thing was on the pitching side of things was we need to do a lot better about just getting ahead in counts. And our first pitch strike percentage was pretty dog awful last year. Um, that's one thing I was really trying to harp on with the guys. And but with the addition of Drew Dickinson and him coming in, and kind of shaking up the place, it was great to see. He definitely lit another fire under our butts as well. Very, 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 very passionate guy. Dude loves the game. Dude understands the game, knows how to call a game, and just knows how to win pretty much. And that was definitely what we needed here. We just needed that guy with that fiery spirit that just wants to win, and he's definitely instilled that in a lot of us.
Were you guys feeling it in the fall as you kinda, like, have him
Yeah.
top row rest? Were you guys that something you guys really felt like you already knew in the fall? And not just that, all the additions on this team. Was it very obvious in the fall that this was a new team from the one that struggled in the spring?
Yeah, for sure. Literally, I remember from the first day when Team Five reported, we had a meeting. Like, just sitting in that meeting room, like the vibe was obviously different. The way a lot of us carry ourselves now is just like, all right, like we know what we did last year. We know what we need to get better at. Like now we go. We know now it's time to go. And again, we know with Drew Dickinson being in there and him giving his little rah-rah speech and getting us all fired up. I mean, there's been times where that man has talked and I'm turning to my left and I'm turning to my right. I'm like, dude, I would run to a brick wall for this guy, dude.
Who are some of the guys on the team this year that people can be really juiced about? There's a lot of newcomers. Who are some guys people can be excited about for the
Yeah, off the top of my head, just got a transfer guy from Iowa, Cam Gurtin. He's gonna be our shortstop this year. Dude has been nails the entire fall. Takes really good ABs, plays some really good shortstop. Ever since I've been back and I've thrown some live ABs to him, that's been I'd say one of the best ABs out of everybody on the team, especially for me. It's just how competitive it is. Dude knows how to fight through an AB. Get to some bigger counts and kind of get a pitch that he wants. So, I love playing that little mental game with him too as well. That's something that's definitely chipped off some of the rust that I've had ever since coming back, and it's been really good for me. It's been really good for him, and I think another guy that people should be really excited about is Caden Pierce coming back. He's up for a little back injury or whatnot, but I think he's slated for a really really big year this year. Same thing for Pierre Shields, our other right fielder. Funny thing about him is bro didn't wear contacts last season. Obviously had these eye things, like couldn't really see and whatnot, and dude still hit like 300 in the SEC.
That's crazy.
So like this off season, got him with the eye specialist, did all these things, got him the contacts and whatnot. So I'm super excited to see what he can do with while he can see. So
When you leave the University of Missouri, what is the legacy that you want to leave?
at this point in my life, like bro, I just want to win. Like I want to be a part of that legacy. Like what you said of like, hey, like this is a team that flipped everything around from Mizzou. That's legacy, leaving somewhere better than you found it. I think is the best definition I can think of it. But that's definitely something that, I've told the guys about, and, when I said it, all of them were like, yeah, like they're all on board, we're all on board. We're ready to rock. So I'm super excited about that. But I think on the other side of things is like, I was kind of just want to be remembered as the guy that, handled his business, did what he needed to do, but, still knew how to keep things light, was still, I guess you could say, on island time or whatnot, having fun, joking around. Like, I still think the game of baseball is supposed to be enjoyed, obviously. I think when guys start to say, like, it's kind of like a job for me, you're probably doing the wrong thing. So I think that's the kind of legacy I like to